not had a cordless Dyson repair in 2020 yet, have we? We best rectify that right now, because this has just arrived at Becco Towers for repair. What's the problem? Something to do with the floor head. In this video we're going to hopefully fix that and have this Dyson V6 Fluffy, actually, although it's got a normal head on it, working right again. Let's get on with it. Yes, hello my vacuum cleaner chums, how are you today? It is another cordless video with a Dyson cordless acting in the way that all the Dyson cordlesses eventually do. Now, probably haven't failed to spot the hole in here. The filter is already in the washing machine because it was absolutely tragically filled with crap. We covered that on my channel before, so we won't do it again, although where it used to pulse, it works okay now. We'll clean it out as we go through with the rest of it. But the main problem is to do with this fluffy, not fluffy head, it's a V6 Fluffy, that's why I'm getting a little bit confused. But it's got the normal head on it, and it's actually in pretty good condition. It has its carbon fibre strips, which is an absolute miracle. It does turn by hand, so hopefully in fairly short order actually we can have this working well again, perhaps clean it up a tad and generally give this a little bit of a service. Let me bring you down a bit closer so you can see this, and we'll take it apart and see what we find. Now these are, as you probably have seen on my channel, ever so easy to take apart. I just need to find a flat base screwdriver to take this off and this off. So we'll start with the brush roll. Lift that up, give the brush roll a little push, and then the end cap comes off there. And then we can withdraw the brush roll, which, as I say, is okay. We'll give it, it needs a bit of a clean up. We'll give it that. Let's see if it works. Without it, it does not. So the problem was not something to do with the brush roll. Let's take this off, which again is quite clean, but normally it's not out here that the problem lies. It's normally inside, so we shall find an appropriate screwdriver. In this case, a Torx 15. No, it's not a Torx 15. Ah, it is. I really must write the number back on my screwdriver. It's a small Torx bit. And basically, we'll start off by undoing these two back screws, which are basically a cover for the pivoting, moving abouty, adjusting wheel, which has a nice layer of fluff and crud in it. Now we need to remove all the rest of the screws, which will give us access inside this cleaner head. Do note that the long screw goes in there, like so. Pop those out the way so they don't get sucked up in a minute, and then we can take off carefully, because it is still a little bit attached. Oh. The top, get a little screwdriver, give it a little pry here and there, tease it up, and eventually up it comes, giving us access to the motor. I think we can also now lift up that plastic cover, like so. Now, to take this part off, which is the moving part, for want of a better word, basically push it out. And it will, with a little bit of wiggling. In fact, it is easier, thinking about it, to undo the screw, which is in here somewhere. Come on. Do we have to go down a screwdriver size for in there? Yes, we do. There is a tiny little screw. It is a T8. I can see that on this screwdriver because I don't use it that often. And then once the screw's undone, you can... Oh gosh. There we go. Look. That is the start of our problems right there. Because this head has been trying to turn. Bless its little heart. It has been trying. It's just not been able to. We'll take the rubber part off, and then we need to remove the belt, which is a little bit fiddly because it's a toothed belt, and so it sits quite, there's no slack to stretch it off. And the only real way to do it is to try and rotate it off of this drive cog here. It doesn't even, flex and move about, which is a pain in the bum, quite frankly. And as much as these tooth belts are very robust, and there we go, prolong the life of the machine, blah blah blah, doesn't work. Now what we're going to quickly do is see if the motor itself turns. And I'll hold it up to the camera. Of course it does. We've got to take this further apart to clean out the hair. Oh gosh. Well, I suppose before we go for complete disassembly, in fact, if it's that simple, crikey, that's been in there a while. It actually turns utterly fine now. It's just that simple, folks. You just got to keep them, well, I say you've got to keep them free of hair. Obviously you don't really have much choice if it's that, if it's buried in there. I mean, that's obviously quite a build-up. It's starting to burn. But hey, that is it. We can now start to clean this head up and reassemble it. So I have some baby wipes here because they are easy and simple to do the job. Not going for the full strip and wash on this one. I'm not going to charge that much for it. I'll only charge, say, £30 for this. If you're a local Dyson vacuum fixer, do comment below on what you charge. You might have to give your area though, because obviously I'm in Oxfordshire, and I might be able to charge completely differently to if you're up in, Runcorn or similar. So there's that part nice and clean. So it's much easier to do this when it's not on the cleaner, because you can really get in there good. A case in point are these back wheels. Look, they are covered or full of fluff. And if we somehow, can you even do it? Ooh, Dyson, there's no hole to push the what am I trying to say? The axle through. Will it just pull off? Sometimes it does, especially if you can sort of rip the hair apart. It does sometimes work quite well. Come on, I can't just see that little bit in there. Or can I? No, look, it's nearly out. Come on, focus. There's just a little bit left on this side. I think we're going to have to leave because the wheel still turns. I can't do much else about it. Did notice in here, in the brush fill, there is a big wodge of bound up hair. And there's still more in there. Although what you can do with these is pop the end of the brush roll off. There we go. You can replace the brush strips on these. They do just slide out, although a pattern brush roll is so cheap and you can't buy the brush strips on its own. I've had scrap heads before. I've helped Manchester Vax out on seeing if it's possible, and you can replace the carbon strips, although these are actually pretty good, with another row of just bristles, which is an acceptable bodge. But if you don't happen to have them lying around anyway, it then becomes, actually a little bit pointless, because you have to basically spend on a scrap head to get the brush strips when you could just buy a new brush roll. Even a pattern brush roll will be absolutely fine for a Dyson V6. They're getting on a little bit. Although they're perfectly competent machines, you don't want to go spending out on a genuine Dyson head for one of these at its age. There's just little point. With this off, you can really get it clean and get rid of the curse of the cleaner head, which Dyson, I think, pioneered, and then everybody copied them, and they just get disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, because obviously as soon as you pick up anything roughly not 100% bone dry, which will happen, it just clags itself up and looks awful. You can't always clean it. On the V11, you can't. In fact, I think on the V10, because the axle for the brush roll motor runs right the way through the middle. So unlike the older ones, you just can't get away with it. There we go. Isn't that just so much nicer? And we'll give this a bit of a clean because it's off and it's quite dusty. Always add a bit of value to your repairs and, give the rest of the machine a bit of love, because it will pay you back. Oh. There we go. What I have just noticed is there is a fair bit of build-up behind this motor plate, so we'll actually take the terminals off, and then again with our little micro Torx screwdriver, the two machine screws come out. With a little bit of fiddling, because the heads of the screws sit just under the cog, which is a terrific design flaw. They obviously put this plastic part on and then press the spindle on, so it makes getting it out just a little bit more tricky than it should be. But we can get the fluff gone, which is all we really want to do. Yes, they have. Look, I can't even take that off because it's underneath that cog. So that's a good bit of design there. But the fluff came out. Here, there it is. Look, and the rest of it. So we could just put these screws straight back in and call that job done. Let's have a little peek under this rubber cover, which is full of fluff, but the motor isn't. Motor is now nice and clean. It just stops it from overheating. Certainly on the Dyson models with the motor, the full size uprights, these fill themselves full of fluff, and it doesn't do them any good at all, because then they run hot. We'll shake all the dirt out. We have yet more hair bound around this back wheel, so we'll have that off as well. In fact, I think this I can pop out. Yay! So we can take this wheel out, look. And if I take the little axle out, we can take this little glob of hair out. Can't do that on the other wheel because there's no gap, so to speak, to push the axle through. You just got to push it back in, which is a bit of a pain. There we go, yeah, you can pull it out through there on that side. And then it's just wiping it all down again. Oh, there's on the front wheels as well, gah. Why are they such hair magnets, man? I mean, you need your front wheels to spin, otherwise they'll wear down and then they'll wear the casing down and then you really will be a little bit screwed because it will start to dig into the floor, which isn't what you want at all, though it is very fiddly to do because you've now got to try and line up one half of the metal rod into one side of the cleaner head. There we go. Get all the hair off of this one. And also push through the wheel because where it's wrapped itself around the inside, you want to dislodge that as much as possible. Oh, and then get it back in. Like so. Carry on wiping. We'll give all the felt pads a good wipe because they're all clagged up. Give the inside a good clean because that'll now stick out like a sore thumb with the rest of it being so tidy. So you really want to get that gone. There we go. And now, really, we can start to reassemble this Dyson, which needs to start with the cog really for the drive mechanism, which is a bit fiddly, but once you get it, it just slots in, and then just rotate and push the belt onto the back spindle like so. Now we can connect the wires back up. And we shall give it a test fire just to make sure. Spins beautifully. You might just be able to see it. You'll see it better in a second. Just got to make sure that that bit doesn't fall out because that bit's loose at this precise second. With that done, we'll take that back out and just pop this rubber cover on. This is what really like squeezes it in and holds it together and stops it from vibrating when it's in use. So it is quite a critical part. Does, however, make it a complete sod to go in because the rubber is actually the bit that sits in here. So get it a little bit damp with your cloth. Make sure it's not pinched up, etc. And in it goes. Now we can take this cover and clip it back down. No, we can't actually. This needs to go on first, doesn't it? Silly me. There we go, because that bit obviously goes over the top of it. And then that clips nicely down. Make sure it's clipped in everywhere. And then we'll put all of the screws back in. That in, we can put the rear bouncy wheel together. Now we'll screw the brush roll cog on. Perhaps, possibly could have done that before it was all together, but you can do it. It doesn't need to be, you know, rammed up to £1 million foot of torque. Literally just screwed on will be enough. It's keyed anyway. Like so. Then we'll stick this trim piece back on once it's in the unlocked position. Oh, I'm losing everything today. It's been one of those days, folks. There we go. Then brush roll in, end cap on, and in theory now perfect. Can't even stop it with my fingers. While we've got the machine itself, I'll just knock you up a little bit because this is a bit taller. We shall pull out his benchiness, which is here, although I'm not going to bother setting up him in shot for this little tiny job. Oh look, Christmas tree! Somebody's got their Christmas tree up. I'm filming this on the 4th of December 2019. And oh, I can't wait for after Christmas. In fact, maybe I should film every single one I get in that, you know, has been knackered up by Christmas tree stuff. You can also see, look, a lot of fluff around the extremities, and those extremities just pull off. You just work you work your way around, you release all the clips, and then eventually it will just come off. I wasn't going to go for the full Monty on this. I'm wondering if I should. Let's see what we find, eh? Ow. Come on. You're all unclipped. Why are you still faffling around? Let's get a bigger screwdriver. There we go. And then there's one at the back, of course there is, which you really... Well, I see worse. Not going to lie. But we are going to now undo the screws to take this bit off and get just that one step deeper, because but actually what we will do is release the two halves, and you do that by pushing the white clip, which I can show you better in a minute. There we go. Look, you just push that white clip together and the whole thing comes off. Has the smallest handheld vacuum ever. So that can now go away, and now I can get to all of these screws and I shall get them undone. Someone's been doing DIY. Crikey, right. I'm also now thinking, stuff it, we may as well go with the full Monty. I can lob another tenner onto the price for the small amount of work that this is. but obviously we can improve the video. This can turn into a bit of a, you know, full in-depth service of a Dyson V6, because they all do this. It's just a bit tragic, really. Flipping good machines and absolute bargains now that they're worth about 50 quid. But so flawed. Yeah, and then it all sort of comes apart a bit more, and you can get to every last drop of dirt and smeg. So, I'm going to go away now and wash this quickly. It won't take very long to dry. I won't do the bin. The bin looks perfectly fine. That'll just need a bit of a wipe down, and that can go back together. Is there a big chunk of fluff behind the little flap? I don't think there is, actually. Nope. That's fine. That moves as it should now. So I shall return when all this is washed and dried. The next day, oh, it's all dry. All dry. And it's not 100%, I'll be honest. It just had a very quick wash. You could make it a lot better if you took, you know, a significant amount of time over it. But I'll be honest, it's good enough for us. It's certainly a heck of a lot cleaner than it was when we started, which is fabulous. So, we need now to get this thing working again. And by working, of course, I mean back together. So, this part actually fell out of this whilst I was washing. I forgot it did that. And it just slots back down into place like that. There is a little latch part, which you'll see when you have it in person, that sits under there. And that bit sort of does what it does. I just remember how this goes back together now. It's been a day. I've been at work now. Ah, yes. We actually need to put this seal or gasket back on. It just pushes over all of the little inner cones. I think this is is it route 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 50 little cyclones in this Dyson V6, which is very nice indeed. So, we'll put the inner shell into the top case. Then it's this part, because that then holds the seal down rather nicely. Yeah. No, we don't have that first. Do we have? Yes, we do have this first. That bit goes on there. No, it doesn't. Crikey, how am I forgetting all this? Ah, that's right, we make a layer cake with all of the inners and the outers. And we actually need this set of screws because I do remember that the small ones go at the back. Now you've got to be careful picking this up as well at this stage because it's all going to fall apart. And it came up really well. And it's going to work really well as well. There is a lot of misinformation out there about how you shouldn't wash the cyclones on a Dyson. I would ignore the fact that if we hadn't done it on this one, it would have been thrown in the bin. And obviously that's a big ecological waste when the machine works perfectly well. It's just gummed up because obviously a cyclonic machine isn't the most efficient There is, but you don't really get bagged. Where's my other proper screwdriver? This one's better. You don't really get bagged cordless machine. G-Tech do one, but my thoughts on G-Tech are fairly well known, and as much as the machine itself won't clog up, it will just break. At least the Dyson doesn't break as such, but it does clog up. Crikey, these screws are a pain. But yeah, if you're going to wash the cyclone, you do have to strip it apart. You can't just wash it whole, because it will never dry. That bit is at least true. So you must always try and disassemble it by, following a terrible video guide like mine, or a better video guide from somebody else. There aren't many out there. Now we can put that right, because that then clips over there. And that's these 4, 5, there it is, screws here. In fact, it's these 5 screws with this outer shroud on. That's right, then the cone. My screwdrivers don't seem to be fitting these screws today. I don't quite know why. I think it might be borderline. They are very small screws. Or, and actually what's probably more likely is that they're actually full of dust. But I can't quite bother to poke them out because they still go in. No. Fast forward this bit. Then we can put the outer shroud on. That just pushes in very easily indeed. Do you know what? We're actually pretty much nearly ready. The filter, that bit just goes through the washing machine. Makes them like absolute new. Then you feed it back on and clip it into place. I'll take this off, which I left on here just because, and then you just push this on and it clicks. We'll put the bin back on, which needs to go in its little place, and one, back 2. In fact, that's actually not too bad from that angle. Bin doesn't look as cloudy on camera. Dyson V6, if we just get the last piece that we did. The nicely refurbished floor head. Wow, that's just picked up. Me just pushing that backwards and forwards just picked up that blob of dirt. Bless it. Get that out because I don't want to give the customer back a machine full of dirt, and we shall call this little project done. Another Dyson V6 saved. I've actually got another one in the car that I picked up today which needs exactly the same as this. I won't film it though. There is no need. So, there we go. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learnt something. I hope this helps you, along with my other Dyson cordless videos that are on my channel. And I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.